I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
Well, among the thousands at last night's Occupy Wall Street protests here in New York was award-winning journalist and author Naomi Klein. She's the author of the best-selling book, The Shock Doctrine, The Rise of Disaster Capitalism. She also wrote No Logo, a book that has become a cultural manifesto for critics of unfettered capitalism worldwide. Tonight she will be speaking at the Occupy Wall Street encampment. She traveled from Canada to participate in the protest.
Last month, Naomi was in Washington, D.C., where she was arrested along with more than 1,200 other people in a two-week campaign of civil disobedience outside the White House against the proposed Keystone XL pipeline, which would carry oil from Canada's tar sands to Gulf Coast refineries. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but Naomi, you came here to New York to Occupy Wall Street, so tell us about what you found.
Well, it's just been extraordinary. I just want to say, just off the top, what a great show this has been. I mean, and you guys clearly were up all night, or your producers were up all night cutting that amazing collection of video and voices. But what struck me most is just how hard some in the corporate media must be working in order to find inarticulate voices, because there are just so many articulate voices in the protests. I mean, everybody who you stop and talk to can really give a sermon about what is wrong with this economy and have all kinds of solutions. And
a union activist came up to me yesterday at the rally in Foley Square, and he said, I mean, how do we get out our message?
Yeah.
The media will not talk to us. And I said, I can't believe you haven't figured it out yet. And he said, well, what? I said, go buy a little red clown nose, go up to a reporter and go beep, 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 and they'll interview you.
Yeah, yeah. No, it really is a sick cultural ritual of every time there is a new generation of politicized, engaged young people who come forward, there is this ritual mocking of them, a kind of a hazing, and it's such a corrupt and corrupting way to welcome a new generation into politics. And of course, coming from a media culture that has worked so hard to dumb down this society, so it's just enormously ironic when they're mocking these very, very well-informed and educated.
We don't have to take this from you, Naomi. Let's turn to the networks themselves.
Yeah.
To former CNBC reporter Erin Burnett, who covered, some would say mocked the movement and the news segment on her first day of her new CNN show on Monday night. The show is called Out Front. In this segment, it was titled, Seriously? This is a clip.
Now for a story that made us say, seriously? The Occupy Wall Street protest entered its third week today. What started as less than a dozen college students camping out in a park near the New York Stock Exchange is now hundreds of protesters, and it's spread to other cities. But what are they protesting? Nobody seems to know. So this afternoon, we went to Wall Street to find out. And despite what you heard, here's what I saw. It's not just a bunch of dancing hippies protesting. This is unemployed software developer Dan. What do you do for a living?
I'm a software developer.
Software developer.
Yes.
So currently employed or unemployed?
Unemployed.
Unemployed.
Unemployed, we like to call it.
Unemployed.
It's called Occupy Wall Street.
So do you know that taxpayers actually made money on the Wall Street bailout?
I was not aware of that.
They did. They made, not on GM, but they did on the Wall Street part of the bailout.
Okay.
Does that make you feel any differently?
Well, I would have to do more research about it, but...
if I were right, it might.
Oh, sure.
Seriously? That's all it would take to put an end to the unrest. Well, as promised, we did go double-check the numbers on the bank bailout, and this is what we found. Yes, the bank bailouts made money for American taxpayers right now to the tune of $10 billion, anticipated that it will be $20 billion. Those are seriously the numbers.
That is the new CNN host, Erin Burnett, after going down to Occupy Wall Street encampment, her first night of her new show, Out Front. Naomi Klein.
Well, I think that tells us a lot about what we can expect from that show. And it's her sarcasm and snideness are so striking because, of course, she is one of dozens of mainstream financial reporters that cheerled the housing bubble and every bubble before it, completely missed every sign coming that the economy was about to crash. So I don't think she's in much of a position to be so snide. But of course, that I don't think that is why people are protesting, because they think that they lost money on the bailout. It's the very nature of the bailout. It's the very nature of just of the banks being able to get billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars from taxpayers with absolutely no strings attached, and that homeowners were sacrificed,
the several million people who've lost their homes would definitely cheer the profit that was made on the bailout.
It was the decision to bail out the banks with no strings attached and not to bail out workers and not to bail out homeowners. And now to pass the bill for the crisis that was created on Main Street and the crashing of the global economy to the public sphere, and now having the cost of that crisis passed down at the federal level, at the municipal level, and taking the forms of all the cutbacks that all those the union spokespeople were talking about, the healthcare workers, the education workers. These are the people who are paying the costs for their crisis. And you know, the slogan "We won't pay for your crisis" started in Italy 2 years ago, and it's spread to Greece, and it's spread to France, and it's really been globalized. And that to me is really that, and we are the 99%, is really what's bringing people to the streets. It's inequality, but more than the inequality, the injustice of the most vulnerable people having to pay the costs of the crisis for the rich. And of course, she completely misunderstood the source of that rage, misrepresented it.